Hello, everybody, and welcome to World Without Rule Law. Old time radio. Classic radio shows. Tonight, we're going to play Nightwatch. True stories. Enjoy.
About 5 p.m. this date, she escaped from the sanitarium. Subject is described as white female person, 5 pounds, 5 feet 3 inches tall, 42 years, black hair, last seen wearing blue overcoat. No further description. Subject is reported to be a mental case and could become violent. Frequency clear, KMA 394. 561 reporting in service. Starting mileage 7395, 7395. Control 1 to 5, 610-4. Did you receive description of escaped mental patient? 5610-4, we have it. Control 1 to 5, 610-4, 6:08 p.m. starting night watch.
This is Don Reed, a police recorder. Right now, you're in the back seat of a detective unit, number 56. That was Sergeant Ron Perkins reporting in service on the night watch. Jotting down the description of that escaped mental patient. Oh, maybe working on that later. But while you're with us tonight, remember, people you hear are not actors. This is it. This is real. This is Night Watch.
Night Watch. The actual on-the-scene report of your police force in action. There are no actors, no script. Every voice, every sound is authentic. The investigations are recorded as they actually occur. Night Watch. Presented with the cooperation of the Police Department of Culver City, California, W.N. Hildebrand, Chief. We switch you now to Detective Unit 5-6, somewhere in the field, and police recorder Don Reed.
5-2 to Control 1, come in. Control 1 to 5-2, go ahead. 5-2, will you have a detective unit meet us at Bowman and Ranch Road at the gas station? We've located the mental patient that escaped the sanitarium. Control 1 to 5-2, 10-4, 5-6, come in. 5-6. 1 to 5-6, did you receive 5-2's transmission? 5610-4, we're in the area now. Be over there in a few minutes. Control 1 to 5610-4, 6:35 p.m. KMA 394.
Matter of a couple of blocks, we'll be at the gas station where one of our uniformed cars has this mental patient detained. It's just getting dark. Pretty heavy traffic out. Seems like everybody's trying to get home all at the same time. Here we are, coming into the gas station. A district car has one of the drives blocked. We're swinging into the other here. Uniformed officers Good and Cameron, holding middle-aged woman, bareheaded, long blue coat, confused expression on her face.
I've been trying to leave, so I scanned the wall and went to the gas station and called my husband to come and get me. In the meantime, those guys are chasing me, trying to bring me back into the sanitarium, and you're not allowed out there or anything.
Which fellows are chasing you?
I don't know. I've escaped them to here now when they called the cops. I'm afraid to even walk. They come here, you. Oh, you can't imagine. You can't. 42 years old, you ought to be able to be sick yourself. You shouldn't have to stay, should you? Huh? Against your will?
Who put you in there, your husband?
Yeah, I had got out of my head a couple of weeks ago, and he put me there with Dr. whatever his name is. And there I've been, and I've been getting all right, and I want to go now. They won't let you go. They won't let you go. And they've got several others in there the same way. They don't let them out. I said to the doctor this morning, I'd love to go home. I want to leave here. Oh, no, you can't. And he knocked me out like that. Gave me a shock treatment and knocked me out. And so tonight, they let us out in the back a little bit. Talk about convicts. They let us out in the back a little bit, and quite a large nurse there was watering. And I saw a wall, and I scanned the wall, and ran down here, and they're chasing me. That shouldn't be allowed, should it, when you're 42 years old? Huh?
Well, what's your husband think of this?
He doesn't know what it's all about. He'll know now.
Well, how long ago did you call your husband?
About 10 minutes or so.
Well, why don't you come with us there?
We'll go down to the station. We'll wait down there. We'll
No,
contact
he
your
won't. No,
husband.
please let me make a phone call first.
We'll
My
talk.
husband's on his way. My husband's coming down here. My husband said he was coming here. So let me wait for my husband here. You want to wait with me? And I'll go back with you. There's a phone booth right there, see? Right there.
If you want to call your husband, go right ahead.
All right, but I've got to get changed for court.
Evidently, even though she's just talked to her husband,
See, I bet he's
she
got a
wants to talk to him again. She's huddled in the small outside
Will you
phone
get his
booth.
shoes? 328.
Breeze blowing in from the ocean, scattering her hair all over her face.
$0.20. I'll have to throw the quarter in. Oh, I don't care about a refund. I never knew that a person wasn't allowed to choose their own life in this world. They're not my bosses. Why would I have to go with them? Will you tell me that? Why do I have to go with them? They're not my bosses. They're not my bosses. How come you haven't come yet? They're sending me back to the sanitarium. What is wrong with you? I won't have it. Please come and get me. What are you waiting for? What? Could you please come and take me home? I want to come home. Please, I've been waiting so long. I'm going to get sick. Will you come down and get me out of the way? All right, just a minute. Just a minute. Hey, they're coming after me.
Your husband is coming.
Yes. Can you please tell the cops that? Just a minute.
Hello, Cameron.
Are they coming to get me? Please. Oh, I'm going to be a nervous wreck if they don't. I can't relax. Oh, you don't know. They're coming, huh?
Yeah.
You want to get in the car?
Yeah, Curtis. Woman's pretty confused. Arch and Paul are going to take her down to the station. You want to go with him? Yeah. I'm going to go out to the sanitarium and see what I can find out. I'll see you down at the station. Right. Okay. See you later. Right.
Told me you got my husband anyway. Listen, could you go up a block and see if he happens to be there now?
Well, I doubt if he could make it
I
here.
don't know. He might have traveled fast because I was crying on the phone. I was crying on the phone.
The woman is in the back seat with Officer Cameron. We'll ride up front.
That would be the only car.
How long have you been at the sanitarium?
It'll be 2 weeks from Monday.
2 weeks.
We
Come
contact
Monday.
the sanitarium where they have a patient who has escaped this afternoon.
You're not going to give me away, are you? Well, I mean, you're going to let my husband have me, aren't you?
We'll talk to your husband first. See what he wants.
Because I don't want to go back to the sanitarium. Can't we choose our own doctors in this world? Huh?
I'll tell you, we don't like to say anything about this until we talk to your husband.
Yeah.
He's the one that had you committed.
Why should I be put in a sanitarium? I mean, and pay good money out when I don't need it? Please don't give me back to that sanitarium. They'll be so mean to me. You can't imagine what they're like. You wouldn't like it. You wouldn't like it. I know you wouldn't. Would you bring my husband here to the police station? Oh, how wonderful. Oh, God.
Sure, I believe someone get him back there for you.
We're here at police headquarters, and the woman patient will be detained until her husband arrives. She's being placed now in the detention room.
I'm so scared. Can I stand?
Well, you stay in there though, for us, 'cause we have to close
We
this
have to
up.
go on.
And we have to.
Well, can I stay here without being close?
Well, that's officers.
But that's goes by himself, man. We have to go. So you just go in there.
Well, let me stand outside then.
No, we have
Why?
to right here. Well, because regulations.
I'm not a criminal.
No, I didn't see you are.
Please don't lock me in. I'll stay here gladly, but
Not
don't.
that.
Please
The
don't
old
lock
safety,
me in.
understand that.
Well, he can slam it shut if they come after me.
Well, no, we're
Can
not gonna give him a chance to do that. But you just go in and sit down now and relax.
How did you get in this sanitarium in the first place?
Because I went out of my head. So they took me to this place here.
What's it like up there?
What's it like up there? There's a bedroom here, a bedroom there, and it's locked there, and it's locked there. And you're not allowed to go out. You're not allowed to use a phone. You're not allowed to call your husband. You're not allowed to use any phones at all. So, once in a great while, they let us out in the backyard there, a little bit, see. So, this great big nurse was watering there, and I saw a wall, and I thought, now I'm going to try. I just can't stand this any longer.
So you went over the wall?
So I went over the wall and ran and called my husband. I don't think he probably didn't realize how serious it was. Because now he's coming after me.
Well, how do they treat you up there?
How do they treat you? They give you a little food and that's all. You're like you're in jail. No different than here. You're not allowed out.
Don, will you step inside a minute? Yeah, sure.
No different than that here.
Did you get down to the sanitarium, Perk? Yeah, I went down and talked to the nurses. A couple of the people down there. She's definitely a mental case, has a persecution complex. Yeah. Feels that everybody's against her. Sergeant Perkins. Okay, be right over there. Her husband here? Yeah, let's go over there. All right.
You are listening to Nightwatch and following the activities of a detective unit on its tour of duty. The people and sounds you are hearing are real, and the investigations are recorded in the field as they actually occur. We'll bring you the results of tonight's action at the conclusion of Nightwatch. And now we return you to police headquarters, where an investigation is underway, and to police recorder Don Reed.
And the office of Captain Lugo. Coming in the other door, the husband of the patient, nervously lighting a cigarette. Anxiety written all over his face. Captain Lugo, Sergeant Perkins are going to talk it over. Earlier this evening, we had a call that they were after from the sanitarium. Mm-hmm. And the radio car officers were dispatched, and they contacted her. And noticed her being disturbed. Mm-hmm. Consequently, I assume that she has a mental illness of some kind, or something that is disturbing her. Mm-hmm. And that's why you were called, because something must be done to help your wife.
Well, I called them. She called me.
I see.
First. So, she just cried and hollered hysterical for me to please come and get her. So I knew it'd take me a long time to get there, and I didn't know if she would stay there. So when she hung up, then I called the sanitarium, see, and they said, oh yeah, we're out looking for her now. We had her out in the sun yard or flower yard or something with 3 or 4 other patients, and she climbed over the wall, see, and so they said, we're out looking for her now. I said, well, do you know where she's at? Where they're at? You don't know where she's at then? And she said, no. So I told her that she was at this gas station. See, she said, well, I'll tell them. Well, you can't tell them if they're out looking for her now. See, and well, that's I guess about it, isn't it?
Yeah. Has she been at the sanitarium long?
This was her second trip, and she was there just 8 days, and then she sold the doctor on the idea that she could come home. So he sent her home, and then she cracked up again. Then we had to call the ambulance because that time she went violent. See.
Have they been able to find out what causes it or what's back of it?
They say not. I had to talk with the doctor Tuesday down his office because I wanted to know something, or I'd tell her to move over down there. So, but he said all that they could do was give her these shock treatments. So I said, well, if that's the thing you do to your wife or someone dear to you, why, that's what I want done. So he told me then that she should have 12 of these treatments and be there a month, and that I shouldn't see her. So I haven't seen her. I'm so confused now. I don't know what to do, and of course.
Well, sir, here's the situation. We'll naturally we've done what we can so far to assist you in your matter here, but if you're going to take her back there, and you can take her back there, why, we'll be glad to release her to you. And or if you need any assistance in any way, why, we'll be glad to give it to you. So if you think that you can take her back, if that's what you want to do, and that's what your doctor recommended, why?
Well, that's what he recommended, but like I say, you get, it's a little hard to think, well, maybe straight yourself at a time like this, because, I mean, I don't know.
Well, we of course don't have any specific charge or reason to hold her other than the fact that she is more or less despondent and probably mentally ill. And so whatever plans you have, we'll be glad to cooperate with you.
Have you talked to her? Did you see her or anything?
No, I've talked to her just very little. I talked to her just for a few minutes. Sergeant Perkins did talk to her, but there's no doubt that there is a problem there.
Of course, over the phone, when she was here, I mean, she must have evidently grabbed the phone from the officer because she said it's a chip joint. You don't know what they're doing to me and all that kind of thing. And I mean, you know, well, I don't know. I'll take her home, but I mean, you don't know. See, the sanitarium was helpless to come here and pick her up. Is that the idea?
No, they said that she had apparently gone there voluntarily, and that they were not in a position to forcibly take her back on without the consent of her husband and the person, whoever was in charge, you know, the doctor and the husband. So they apparently will take her back as long as they know you're here. I would suggest that you call the sanitarium.
I talked to them, you know, and I said said that she thought it was better if one of their attendants go with the police officers and get her and bring her back rather than me. See, and I agreed heartily with that.
Let me put it this way, just on my observation, if she had been picked up by herself under the circumstance that it happened, and we had no relatives to contact like it happens once in a while, I wouldn't recommend her being released. In other words, we would recommend that she be taken down to the general hospital. It may be that after this episode, your doctor may have other findings for you and help you relieve your mind and know that you are doing what you believe is right.
Man, I don't know. I've done so much thinking, but I thought I had it all thought out Sunday night and Monday, and then when I called the doctor and had a half-hour session with him, I mean, he tried to answer me on the phone. I said, I'm going to pay for a half-hour deal with him. And he convinced me. If she'd only be a good kid and go through with this. But of course, I mean, if she had the reason to figure that out, I guess she wouldn't be in the first place. If I'm going to go by these guys that have spent years at it, she should go back.
I talked to the attendant out there. They're going to send a male nurse and a female nurse down, and we'll release them to them.
Good.
So they're on their way down now.
Let's get out of here. I don't want to see her.
Why don't you go the back way, and then you won't have to go there from where she can see you right from where you walked in there.
Oh, can she?
Yeah, she's in the back there, so there's a possibility that she might hear your voice. Or
can she see our car across the street?
No, she's inside. She can just see you as you go out there. So you want to go right up the back door. If you don't mind using the back door here, it might keep her from becoming more.
Yeah.
emotionally.
Well, I guess we're doing the right thing, huh?
After all, you've gone to your doctor, and he is a professional man. He's the one that should guide you in matters like this.
Yeah.
But what she said, it was a chip joint on the phone, I get the idea of dungeons and chains.
Well, it's a very reputable place.
She don't even have to know we were here, does she?
I guess we won't tell her anything.
The husband is slowly leaving the back door. Shoulders slumped over. He's carrying a pretty heavy burden.
Captain, the attendants from the sanitarium are out in front. We might as well turn her over to them.
Let's move out to the detention room. Holding onto the wire netting. Nurse from the sanitarium in front of the door, trying to persuade her to come out quietly. Not having much success.
Want to go with me? I'm ready for my answer. Waiting for my answer. You'll be in the hospital when I get there. Come on, go with me. Yeah, but I go to station, you'll allow me in. Look, honey, I'm 42 years old. Can I be boss myself? Officer, can I be my own boss at 42?
Captain Lugo is taking the nurse aside to fill in some details.
The doctor. And the doctor recommended that she be taken back to the sanitarium.
Mm-hmm.
And then he called your sanitarium.
Mm-hmm.
And consequently, we told him that we would assist you in
Getting her back.
if it was necessary. So we have a couple of men coming in to help you if you like. But the doctor recommended that he not see her because it probably would excite her all the more.
I see. I wanted to bring a hypo with me and give it to her. I would quieten her down.
Well, we'll assist you when you start taking her. We'll be glad to assist you.
All right.
Attempt to get the patient out of the detention room. Officers opening the door. Woman is hiding in the corner.
Let me out with me. No, I don't think she's gonna hurt me. She will too. I'm afraid. Honey, you know I am. I'm afraid of them over there. I'm afraid. I am. Why are they hunting me? You know what? Why are you after me? Why? I would sit here under suspicion to get you there.
You know, we haven't hurt you, have we? Of course we haven't. Well, why don't you? They're not going to hurt you. We'll tell her it's not going to hurt you.
You don't know those girls there. And I know you people there. You're locked in there. You're not allowed to go out. I asked if I could go to the dentist tomorrow. And they said no. What did I tell you? I said, tomorrow we'll contact the dentist. Oh, you guys. See how they are?
Well, you're going to...
And I'm 42 years old. Can I be my own boss?
Well, look, here's the situation.
I'm 42.
You go with them.
They'll lock me in there again. I know that.
Well, you go with them.
You know it too. Yeah. Well,
The subject has been coaxed out of the detention room. Nurse assisting her outside to a waiting ambulance. Well, this has to be done. How to get her in as quietly as possible is the problem. One of the officers has a restraining strap under his arm. Hope it won't be necessary to use it.
I bet you.
You just go right ahead.
Aren't you officers to help?
Sure, we are.
Well,
That's
will you
what
help
we're
now?
doing. That's what we're doing.
Will you help me? I don't want to go with them. I don't want to go with them. I don't trust them. You know darn well once you get me in there, I'm stuck, ain't I?
No.
Well, then why are you after me then?
They want you to go back. You can't stay here all night.
Oh, I knew once tomorrow I'll be in that sanitarium again.
That's up to your husband. Not up to
Well, I'm 42. Ain't I old enough?
All right, you talk to your husband about it. Come on, you grab in front.
I'll sit in front. Yeah. Him again.
That's up to your husband. Not up to
Well, I'm 42. Ain't I old enough?
All right, you talk to your husband about it. Come on, you grab in front.
I'll sit in front. Yeah.
Officers are helping her into the front seat. Male attendant sliding in beside her.
I'm so scared.
No, you're not right. Now we'll go back.
I don't want to go back. I don't want that thing,
Nothing to be scared about.
Do I have to have this thing,
No,
doctor?
your husband will get another doctor.
We'll straighten that out. We'll take care. We haven't hurt you yet, have we?
No, but now you won't. I can't get near a phone. Oh, will you come with, please?
Well, finally succeeded in getting the young lady into the ambulance. Public in here calling in a distance. The male nurse on one side, the female nurse on the other to secure her.
Better come over. Wait till I get out, huh? It's the awful.
Now, there she goes. Returning now to the sanitarium. Well, Perk, some people are lucky, some people are... Let's get to work now.
What you have just heard is real, recorded as it happened on the Nightwatch. For the disposition of this case, we return you to Police Headquarters and Chief W.N. Hildebrand.
Tonight's case varies from the usual conception of police work by merely lending assistance in a purely personal matter. However, the facts are important. We have a man who had to make a decision, a very difficult decision. After 20 years of a successful marriage, this verdict was not easy to reach. Sentiment and his love for his wife would have led many people in his position to do nothing and hope. In reality, this would have been the cruelest step of all. Regardless of how heartbreaking a problem he faced, the commitment was made. Contrary to his wife's views, the sanitarium he selected is one of the most competent in the area. A recent check shows his wife is responding to treatment and soon should be able to return home and take her normal place in society. We have presented this case tonight because other people throughout the country are facing similar situations. If we can make just a few realize that the proper decision in time may spare the victim years of agony, then we have a purpose in presenting the actual happenings on the Nightwatch.
Thank you, Chief Hildebrand. You have just heard on-the-scene reports of your police force in action. Every voice, every sound has been real. Nightwatch, brought to you through the cooperation of your police department of Culver City, California, is produced by Sterling Tracy and Jim Hadlock, with technical advice by Sergeant Ron Perkins, and is described in the field by police recorder Don Reed.
About 5 p.m. this date, she escaped.
All right. That was Nightwatch. That was interesting. That was actually one of the first ones I've ever heard of that. Let's see here. Now let's play a classic. Dragnet. This one's called The Big Smoke.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield. First cigarette with premium quality throughout in both regular and king size brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned the homicide detail. You get a call that a 72-year-old man has been murdered. His invalid wife has been brutally beaten. There's no lead to the assailants. Your job, get them. When you're asked to try a cigarette, you want to know, and you ought to know, what that cigarette has meant to people who smoke it and who smoke it all the time. For almost a year now, a medical specialist has given a group of Chesterfield smokers thorough examinations every 2 months. He reports no adverse effects to their noses, their throats, or sinuses from smoking Chesterfields. More and more men and women all over the country are finding out every day that Chesterfield is best for them. Enjoy your smoking. Try Chesterfields today. You'll find Chesterfield much milder, with an extraordinarily good taste. Dragnet.
the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, August 12th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. We were on the way out from the office, and it was 8:12 a.m. when we got to 8469 North Brighton Avenue. The front door.
Yes?
Mrs. Hurley?
Yes, who are you?
Police officer. This is my partner, Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
Oh, well, it's about time you got here.
Yes, ma'am. I wonder if we could see Mrs. Stone.
I don't think so. The ambulance man's with her now, giving her some kind of pill, something to calm her down. Lord knows the poor thing certainly needs something.
Yes, ma'am. We'd like to see her, please.
Like I said, I don't know if you can. I'll have to ask the ambulance man.
Well, I'm sure it's all right, ma'am, if you just let us talk to the attendant.
You just wait here. I'll talk to him.
Now, look, I don't like to be rude, ma'am, but this is a murder investigation. If you'll open the door, please.
How do I know you're what you say you are? How do I know you're cops?
Here's our identification.
Looks enough like you, I guess. All right, come on.
Thank you. Where is Mrs. Stone?
Back there, in the back bedroom.
I'll check with the attendant.
Right, Frank. I wonder if you could tell us what you know about this, Mrs. Hurley.
You just bet I can. You just bet. That poor woman back there. She's lying at death's door because you didn't do your job. You know that?
Ma'am?
At death's door. It's your job to see that things like this don't happen. That's what you're paid for. And look, just look. Her poor husband dead and herself all beaten. Poor thing. I just don't understand what the world's coming to when things like this can happen.
Well, first, ma'am, there was no way we could stop this. I think you understand that. We're trying to clean it up now. We're going to need your help to do it. Now, if you just tell me what happened, please.
Yeah. But you say, I know different.
All right, Mrs. Hurley. The faster we can get started on this thing, the better chance we have of getting the people responsible for it.
I suppose so. Well, what do you want to know?
Well, if you'd please start at the beginning and tell me what you know about it.
Yeah. Well, it started this morning. About 7 or 7:15, I think. I heard this noise at the back door, kind of a scratching kind of noise. And a moan, a little tiny moan. Sounded like it was way off, kind of in the distance.
Yes, ma'am.
First, I wasn't sure that I wasn't dreaming the whole thing. You know how it is when you're awakened out of a sound sleep.
Yes, I understand.
Well, it was like that. Took me about 10 minutes before I knew that there really was something there. Well, I got up and went to the door. And that's when I found her, right there at the back door, kind of laying on the porch. I could see right away that someone had beaten her. That's when I called the ambulance. And then she told me about how her husband had been killed, and then I called you. The other car, the one with the men in uniform, come out.
Mm-hmm.
They looked around, and then they went over to the house.
That'd be the Stones' house?
That's right, next door.
I see. How about it, Frank?
Well, it's pretty bad, Joe. They're treating her now.
Can we see her?
Well, the attendant says it'll be all right for a couple of minutes. Not much more than that. They're going to take her to Georgia Street.
Okay.
He said he'd let us know when we could talk to her.
All right, fine. Did she tell you what happened, Mrs. Hurley? Anything at all?
Just that there was 2 men. They come in and beat up on her, killed her husband. That was enough. One look at her, and I could tell she was hurt bad. And her an invalid. I just don't understand how anybody in their right mind could do a thing like this. I just don't understand it.
Yes, ma'am. Now, you say that she's an invalid, is that right?
Yes, they were involved in an auto accident a couple of years ago. Some drunk ran right into them, smashed the car all up, laid Mr. Stone up for a couple of months, and put Patricia in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. Can't walk at all. She crawled over here. Don't know how she did it. Great courage.
Yes, ma'am. Did you hear anything at all last night? Any disturbance aside from what you told me?
Not a thing. Went to bed about 10, slept like a rock. Didn't hear a thing until this morning. That was about 7:15 maybe, like I said. Nope, I didn't hear a thing.
Well, do you know if there was anyone that the Stones were afraid of? Anyone who might have done anything like this?
No, I can't think of a soul.
How about money, ma'am? Did Mr. Stone keep large sums of money around the house?
Well, now, I don't know. You might have.
Joe?
Well, yeah, Hal.
You want to see her now?
Yeah, come on, Frank.
All right.
You're going to want to talk to me some more.
Yes, ma'am. We'll be back. Mrs. Stone? Mrs. Stone?
Yes? Who is it?
Police officers, ma'am. We know you don't feel well, but there are a few questions we'd like to ask you, if you don't mind.
You got the men yet? The ones who did this?
No, ma'am, not yet.
I tried to tell them. I tried. They just wouldn't listen.
Ma'am,
I told them to take whatever they wanted and leave us alone. Just leave us alone. I tried to tell them. They wouldn't listen. They killed Henry. They tried to kill me.
Do you know who they were, Mrs. Stone?
What?
I say, do you know who they were? The men who did this, do you know who they were? Had you ever seen them before?
No, I don't think so. It was dark. Then I heard them argue with Henry. I tried to get up. I tried to help him, but I couldn't. I screamed, but they didn't pay attention. Then they killed her.
Ma'am, can you describe them for us? Tell us how tall they were, how they were dressed, maybe.
They didn't know that I was there. Then they came into my room and they said they'd kill the other one, so they might as well kill me too. I tried to tell them to go away. They wouldn't listen. They just hit me and hit me and hit me. That was the only thing I could do.
Did they drive a car, ma'am? Is there anything you can tell us that might help us in identifying them? Did one of them use a name, maybe?
They locked me in the closet. They put that pillow over my head. I don't know why. I told them they could take what they wanted. Take it if they just leave us alone, but they didn't. They killed Henry. They tried to kill me.
All right, Mrs. Stone, everything's going to be all right here. Don't worry now. Just try and get some rest.
Doesn't matter much now. Isn't anything that matters anymore. Nothing now that they killed Henry.
All right, ma'am. Please try not to get upset.
Joe.
Yeah.
Better get her downtown.
Well, how's it look for her, Hal? What are her chances?
Depends.
Yeah.
How hard she wants to try.
8:46 a.m. The ambulance removed Mrs. Stone to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital. We put in a call to the crime lab, and then we talked to the neighbor, Mrs. Hurley. She could add little to what she'd already told us. She said that she'd heard no loud noises during the night and that she'd seen no one in the neighborhood acting suspicious. She told us, however, that Mr. Stone was known to have kept large sums of money in the house. She went on to say that he made no attempt to hide his distrust of banks and that he had often said that all of his money was on the premises. 9:02 a.m. Frank and I went next door to the Stone home. The crime lab and latent fingerprint crews had arrived and were going over the place for physical evidence. We talked to Ray Pinker of the crime lab.
This is how they got in.
Yeah, tore the screen, huh?
Must have done it with their hands. Couldn't find any tool marks.
You figured the door was open then, huh, Ray?
Yeah, it looks that way. One of those old-fashioned locks, no indication that they forced it.
Mm-hmm. Did you find anything else?
Took a look back here in the closet.
Well, they sure tore the place up, didn't they?
Yeah, went through everything. Even took the pictures off the walls.
Yeah.
Ripped up the bedding. There's in a drawer they didn't go through.
Any prints at all?
Bergman's checking it. Haven't found anything yet that I know of.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. Look at the mattress on the husband's bed. Tore it all up. Stuffing scattered around the room. Looks like a tornado went through the place. The closet's back here. This was Mrs. Stone's room. See where they dragged her.
Yeah.
Hit her the first time about here, and then they dragged her over to this closet, dropped her in here. You can see where she stacked those suitcases up there to pull herself out the window.
I don't know how she did it. Bad off as she was. Looks like robbery was the motive then, huh, Ray?
Can't agree with that, Joe.
Why?
Come on back in Stone's room. We found the murder weapon. Checked around. It looks like they picked him up in the backyard. Here, take a look. Couple of wooden clubs. Looks like they came from a walnut tree just outside the back door. Kind of blows the robbery angle.
Yeah.
They were ready to kill the Stones when they came in.
9:30 a.m. The crime lab finished their investigation of the house. The backyard and the surrounding ground were gone over. In the soft earth at the foot of one of the walnut trees, a pair of footprints was found and plaster casts were made of them. On the lower limbs of the trees, we found the place where the two clubs could have been taken. The rest of the yard and the immediate vicinity were combed, but we found nothing. 12:15 p.m. Frank put in a call to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital. They told him that Mrs. Stone had been given emergency treatment and then had been removed to the county hospital. Her condition was listed as critical. They said that it would be some time before we'd be able to talk to her. 1:30 p.m. We began to canvass the neighborhood. From the people in the surrounding houses, we found that Mr. Stone had retired from the wholesale grocery business about 10 years ago. He devoted himself to the cultivation of prize roses and the care of Mrs. Stone. The neighbors told us that the Stones were quiet and that they seldom entertained. 3:15 p.m. We went back to talk to Mrs. Hurley.
I knew you'd be back.
Ma'am?
I knew you'd come back to talk to me again. Could have told you a lot, but I thought I'd just let you try and find out for yourself. Didn't do too well, did you? Did you?
I don't think I understand, Miss Hurley.
Simple. Anything you want to know about this neighborhood, you come to the source. That's me. Anybody knows what's going on here, I do.
Yeah, well, if you had information that you thought we should have had, why didn't you tell us before, ma'am?
I didn't want to.
Ma'am?
I said I didn't want to. I still say that you were responsible for this whole thing, done your job, and it wouldn't have happened. Oh, I still haven't forgot. Oh, no, sir.
Now, look, Miss Hurley, this is a murder investigation. I've told you that before. A man has been killed. A woman's been badly beaten. We're going to need all the cooperation from you that we can get.
I'm ready now.
What?
I'll cooperate. I'll tell you what you want to know.
All right, Miss Hurley. First, do you have any idea who might have done this?
You just bet I have.
Who, ma'am?
Their boy. Only one that's mean enough to do it. Only one.
Their boy?
Sure. Herman Jr. He's the one. You just bet.
Why do you say that?
Because I know, that's why. Mean kid. Always had trouble with him. Because the only trouble ever was between Patricia and me. Troublemaker. But he was pure and simple, a troublemaker.
How old is this boy, Miss Hurley?
36, a real monster.
You know where the boy is now?
No, and I'm not interested. Happiest day of my life when he moved out of the house. Oh, he and I used to get in some arguments. Little brat. Stand there and think he was so big. Finally, Mr. Stone saw it. Told him to get out. Moved right out of the house. Bag and parcel right out.
You mean that Mr. Stone and the boy had arguments?
See? That's what I mean. No wonder people don't cooperate with you.
I beg your pardon?
I say something, then you ask me if I mean it. Of course I mean it. I wouldn't say it otherwise. Like people who ask, what time is it? You tell them, and then they ask if you're sure. They don't want to believe you. Why do they ask you in the first place?
Yes, ma'am. Were you there at the time, ma'am?
No, I wasn't. It was a warm night. Just a couple of months ago, all the windows was open, and I just couldn't help seeing into their house. You know, houses being close together, you can understand it.
Yes, ma'am, we can understand.
I don't like the way you said that, young man.
Well, I didn't mean anything by it, Mrs. Hurley.
Well, I suppose not. But I don't want you to get the idea that I'm the nosy type.
Oh, no, ma'am, not at all.
Well, anyway, Mr. Stone told Herman to get his things and get out. Right out. That night.
Uh-huh. Well, did the boy leave that night?
Oh, yes. Went right into his room and packed. Said he'd never come back. That he didn't want anything more to do with the old man.
Mm-hmm.
And his father said that was the way he wanted it. He was going to cut him out of his will. Well, you can just believe that's when the trouble really started.
Well, now, where was Mrs. Stone all this time?
She was in her room, but she come out. Wheeled herself right out. Told them to stop this foolishness. She always was kind of pampering the boy. I think myself that's what caused him to be like he was. You know, tied to his mother's apron strings all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
That's when Herman said that about doing something. Said that the old man was senile. Said that he was crazy. And that the money was his, and he was going to see that he got it.
Mm-hmm.
Said he meant to have it if he had to kill somebody.
4:10 p.m. We got the full name and description of the Stone boy from Mrs. Hurley. We went back to the office and ran the name through R&I. We found a Herman Stone Jr. with a record listing 3 arrests on charges of 4127A LAMC. We checked out his last known address, a hotel on South Hill, and found that he'd moved several weeks before. The manager gave us a forwarding address, and at 6:10 p.m., Frank and I drove out to see him. It was a large apartment hotel on Wilshire Boulevard. We talked to the desk clerk.
Sure, I know Herman. Nice guy. Once in a while he gets a little loud, but most of the time he's a real nice guy.
Is he here now?
I don't think so. Let me look. Key's here. I think I saw him go out about an hour ago. He wasn't feeling too well. Bad hangover.
Any idea where he might be?
No, like I said, I didn't talk to him. Just saw him go out.
You know what he does for a living?
Herman?
Yes, sir.
I don't think he does nothing. Plays the horses a little bit. Picks up a buck that way. Good player. Sure knows the dogs. Given me a couple of tips. Didn't do any good. He sure does all right. Made a real killing yesterday. Must have hit it for about 4,000 or 5,000.
That right?
Yeah. Showed me the money this morning. Real big roll. At least 4 or 5 grand. Tips he gave me never did that good.
You got any idea where he was last night?
So what's this all about anyway? Herm done something?
Well, it'd be better if we talk to him.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you guys know what you're doing, huh?
Well, yes, sir.
He asked me if I knew what he was doing last night.
Uh-huh.
I sure do. He really tied one on. Of course, with his luck, I don't wonder. Really tied one on.
Sir?
Loaded. Got in here. He had a bottle. So you won't say anything about this to the management, will you?
No, sir, we won't.
And then that happened. They don't approve of drinking while I'm on duty. You understand. Kind of stuffy, but that's the way they look at it.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, old Herm rolls in here, and he's got this bottle. He asked me to have one with him. Well, I don't like to get him sore, so I do. And we have a couple of more. Old Herm, that boy can really put it away.
Yes, sir. What time was that?
Well, let's see. I guess about 7, maybe 7:15.
Mm-hmm. Did he go out after that?
Sure didn't. Killed the bottle, and then he passed right out, cold. Slept there on that couch.
Uh-huh.
No, sir. Old Herm didn't go anyplace.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Chesterfield is the first cigarette to offer smokers premium quality in both regular and king size. King size Chesterfield contains tobaccos of better quality and higher price than any other king size cigarette. Chesterfield is first to name all its ingredients, ingredients that make the best possible smoke. And Chesterfield gives you this scientific report. No adverse effects to the nose and throat of a group smoking only Chesterfields. So enjoy your smoking. Change to Chesterfield today. Much milder, with an extraordinarily good taste.
8:12 p.m. Herman Stone returned to the hotel. Frank and I talked to him for about an hour. He appeared quite shaken when we told him of his father's death. We questioned him about the money that he'd suddenly come up with. He explained that he'd won it at the races. He gave us the name of the man who accompanied him to the track. Frank and I checked with him and found that Stone's story was true. We checked his shoe size and found that it was not the same as the print found at the scene of the murder. 10:46 p.m. We called the office and they told us that we'd gotten a message from the county hospital. Mrs. Stone was able to talk. She wasn't completely out of danger, but barring a relapse, she was expected to recover. Frank and I drove out to the hospital and talked to her.
I wish I could help you more than I have, but there just isn't anything else.
Well, could you give us any idea of about how tall they were?
That'd be pretty hard to do, Mr. Friday. I was lying down when they came into my room. I could only guess, but I'd say maybe as tall as you. I don't think much taller.
I see. Now, how about their build, ma'am? Was it heavy or slight?
I can't be sure. I guess if I must say one or the other, I have to say they're about medium. One was very strong, though.
Ma'am?
The one that carried me to the closet. He was strong. Just lifted me out of bed and carried me over to the closet and threw me on the floor.
Did your husband have any large amounts of money in the house?
Yes. Yes, he did. Herman never believed in banks, not since the crash. He always said that he could take care of the money as well as they could.
Yes, ma'am.
He had all of his savings in the house, kept them in the mattress on his bed.
Do you know about how much that might be, Mrs. Stone?
I'd only be guessing, but I'd say maybe $12,000 or $13,000. Herman didn't discuss finances with me. He always thought it was a man's business, that I shouldn't have to worry about it. I tried to tell him, tried all the time.
What's that, ma'am?
That he should put the money in a bank. He used to talk about it, too. I know that didn't help any.
Well, who did he talk to, Mrs. Stone?
People in the neighborhood. He used to tell them that he didn't get the interest, but that he always knew just where his money was. He used to ask them if they could say the same.
Mm-hmm. Do you think of anybody in the neighborhood who might do a thing like this?
Oh, no. We've lived there for a long time. No, none of them would even think about it.
I see. Did you or your husband have any enemies? Anyone that you had any arguments with? Maybe?
There wasn't anyone. Mr. Friday.
Yes, ma'am?
Does my son know about this? Does he know that his father is... Does he know about it?
Yes, ma'am, he does. He's outside in the hall right now. He said he'd like to see you.
Poor boy. Never did get along with his father. I tried to make them understand each other. I tried so hard. Didn't seem to do any good.
Mm-hmm. Well, if there's nothing else that you can tell us, ma'am.
There's one thing. I hate to mention it. It seems so silly.
What's that, Mrs. Stone?
Well, when they were arguing with Herman in the next room, they got very loud. I thought that I recognized one of the voices, and I can't be sure, but at the time I thought it.
Yes, ma'am.
Then when they came into my room, I was pretty sure. But I could be wrong, and I wouldn't want to cause anybody any trouble. I wouldn't want to make a mistake.
Well, who do you think it might have been? Whose voice do you think it was?
It sounded like Smokey's.
Who?
Smokey. He used to do some work around the yard for Herman. That was a year or so ago. I haven't seen him since then.
Well, do you know where we can get in touch with him, ma'am?
No, I don't. As I said, I haven't seen him in over a year.
What's his full name, Mrs. Stone?
I don't know, but that's why I thought it might be a little silly. I don't even know his right name. He just told us his name was Smokey. The young man always had a cigarette in his mouth, chain smoker, I think he'd called.
Uh-huh.
Herman used to kid him about it, smoking all the time. I don't think Smokey liked it. He was a pretty serious young man, used to get a little angry at Herman.
I see. Can you give us a description of the man?
Oh, yes. Nice-looking boy. I hope I haven't made a mistake. I hope I haven't done the wrong thing.
Well, don't you worry about it, Miss Stone.
What?
That's his worry now. We continued to talk to Mrs. Stone. We got the description of the handyman who'd worked for her husband. 11:28 p.m. We went back to the city hall and ran the name and description through the moniker files in R&I. We came up with one good possible. In checking his record, we found that his full name was Charles P. Roxford. His age was listed as 37 years. The rest of his description matched the one we'd gotten from Mrs. Stone. He had an arrest record listing several charges of forgery, and at that time there was an outstanding warrant on him for check passing. We went back to the office and called Forgery Division. Yeah, Roxford. Yeah, that's right, Charles R. Huh? Oh, we want to talk to him about a killing out on Brighton. Yeah. What? When was that? Yeah. Okay, we'll be right there. Well, that's a break.
What do you mean? They know where he is?
They got him. Charles Roxford had been picked up a few minutes before by officers in Forgery Division while he was trying to pass a bad check. Frank and I went down the hall and took the prisoner to the interrogation room. We talked to him for 2 hours. During that time, he'd admit nothing except his name and that he'd been trying to pass a phony check.
You're off your rocker, and you know it. You got me for one thing, hanging paper. That's it, and you can't make anything more out of it.
How about this money we found on you?
Yeah, how about it?
Where'd it come from?
I won it.
Where?
In a crap game.
Where was the game?
I forgot. It was a floating game. Moved around a lot.
You worked for the Stone family a year or so ago?
I don't know. I might have. I worked for a lot of people.
You worked for them?
I might have, like I said.
They seem to think you did.
All right, so I did. What's that mean?
You ever have any arguments with Stone?
No. Got along good. Never had no trouble.
His wife thinks different.
Oh, that's so?
That's right.
And she's off a rocket, too. Now, look, maybe you guys got all night, but I
You
haven't.
aren't going anyplace.
Well, how about booking me in? Let's talk in the morning, then, huh?
All right, fine, Roxford. As soon as you answer a few more questions.
I told you all I know.
Maybe you forgot something. Let's go over it again. What do you say?
All right. Where do you want to start?
Can you tell us what you've been doing the last few days?
Any day in particular, or do you want to run down minute by minute?
You just tell us what you've been doing, will you?
Let's see. This is Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
All right, let's start with Monday. That all right with you?
Come on, get on with it.
Well, I got up yesterday morning about, I think it was 11:30, lit a cigarette, got dressed, went downstairs and had some breakfast. Interesting?
Go ahead.
Oh, I can spice it up for you, if you want. It's kind of dull when you tell it straight.
You just tell the story, man.
Oh, what are you guys trying to prove? What are you trying to tell?
What'd you do last night?
I had dinner and went to a show.
Where'd you eat dinner?
Place down on the Spring.
Did you eat alone?
Yeah.
What'd you do then?
Like I said, I went to a show.
Who went with you?
Nobody. I didn't say anybody went with me.
Oh, I must have thought you said that.
Yeah. I went alone.
All right. Where'd you go after that?
I walked around, had a couple of drinks.
Where?
A bar down on 5th.
What time was that?
About 12:30 or so.
Anybody with you?
No.
You know the bartender?
No, I never went in the place before.
Then you got no way of proving you were there.
No, do I have to?
Did it help?
Well, why? I'm a big boy now. I don't have to explain anything to you guys. Now get off my back, will you? I'm getting sick of playing footsie.
Where'd you go after you left that bar?
I went home.
Where's that?
It's a place over on 4th.
What time did you get in?
I don't know. Maybe 1:30, 2.
Mm-hmm. Desk clerk see you come in?
No, he's asleep.
How long ago did you say you worked for the Stone?
I didn't. You said I worked for him a year ago.
Is that right?
I guess so. I forgot. What's this bit about the Stones?
You got any way of proving where you were last night?
Like I said, I don't have to.
That's the way you look at it, mister.
You're in trouble if you can't come up with an alibi we can't break.
That right?
Yeah.
Why?
Because Mrs. Stone got a good look at you.
She couldn't have. The lights were out.
Yeah, no, that's clever, Roxford. You want to tell us about it now? Come on, Roxford.
All right, I should have known. I should have known. I never should have done it, but I didn't have any choice. You can't figure that, can you?
What do you mean?
Well, I owed this money. The guys are getting tired of waiting. They said I had to come up with it. I didn't have any choice.
Is that right?
Sure. You can see it, can't you? I had to come up with the money. I tried to win it back. The more I played, the more I owed him. There just wasn't any other way. I knew old man Stone had it. Wasn't doing him any good, and I needed it, and I knew where he kept the money.
Who was with you?
Becky Forbes.
You know where we can find him?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
All right, you want to get the stenographer, Frank?
Yeah.
I should have known. Should have known, but there just wasn't any choice. There wasn't any other way.
Well, why'd you kill him?
He knew who I was. There's no choice. I had to.
Is that right?
Well, sure, you can see that yourself, can't you? I couldn't find any other way.
You didn't look very hard, did you?
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On December 10th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, as I've told you before, Chesterfield is the first cigarette to give you premium quality throughout in both regular and king size. And Chesterfield is a cigarette that gives you this scientific report. No adverse effects to the nose and throat of a group smoking only Chesterfields. Now, as a 2-pack-a-day Chesterfield smoker, I know it's the cigarette that's best for me. They really are much milder, and I'm sure when you try them, regular or king size, you'll agree Chesterfield is best for you.
Friday's pushing the Chesterfields.
Charles Richard Roxford and Jack Allen Forbes were tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. They were executed in the lethal gas chamber at the State Penitentiary, San Quentin, California. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Virginia Gregg, Stacey Harris. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
For a million laughs, tune in Chesterfield's Martin and Lewis show, Tuesday on this same NBC station. And sound off for Chesterfields. Either regular or king size, you'll find premium quality Chesterfields much milder. Chesterfield is best for you.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Tonight, it's Adventure with Barry Craig, confidential investigator on NBC.
All right. Dragnet and Nightwatch. I wasn't too crazy about the Nightwatch, to be honest with you. First time I ever heard it, it was just, I don't know, seemed a little dry for me, but I don't know. But thinking I like to see if there's interest in this. Do it, maybe pick a time. Maybe Tuesday night seems like a good night. There's no other really conflicting feeds in our group. I could take requests. I have a whole bunch of these: Gunsmoke, Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Philip Marlowe, Johnny Dollar. Wes came in. Yeah, we played something called Nightwatch, Wes, the first half, and it was I don't know, it's all true story. Like, there's no actors. It's actually from the police recordings, and I don't know. I have to listen to a couple more. As the first one I ever really listened to, and just maybe it was just that one episode. I might try to do it again, but of course, Dragnet's a favorite of mine anyway. I always liked the Dragnet TV show, and Nightwatch sucked. Yeah, I think that, I don't know. Maybe it was just that episode, though, right, Daniel? Could have been. I'm not sure. Might give it another try. Maybe I'll listen to one or two of them off air and see if they're any better. But I agree that one wasn't that great. Lone Ranger, yeah, Lone Ranger was good. Gave me PTSD. Yeah. Lone Ranger got Gunsmoke. I actually have their videos, though. I don't know if there's a copyright deal on them or not, of Bonanza. But maybe I could just play it in the background and just put the mic on the audio. I'm not sure if that'll give me a copyright or not, but you have to look through. There's a bunch of there's Jack Benny, there's Father Knows Best, stuff like that. I love the show as a kid and reruns. Yeah, I used to like the reruns of it when I was a kid too. And remember Sherman Potter was his partner, the guy that played Sherman Potter on MASH. The Dragnet was cool. I pictured Daniel in the hot seat, and it just came together. Yeah. I don't know, Wes. When he was talking about Smokey, I thought possibly you could have been the perpetrator. I was glad to hear that, they caught the guy and let you off the hook. Because, I wouldn't want to see you guys go down for anything like that. I'm glad that all my friends are innocent. I think this would be cool. Wes would waterboard me if he could. Well, you probably deserve it, Daniel. I mean, just saying. I don't know. If he was to waterboard you, I would have to give him the benefit of the doubt and just say that me being in a position where I don't know all the circumstances, I would just have to figure that you probably deserved it or he wouldn't do it. I mean, that's just kind of how I have to look at it going in, unless there was evidence to the contrary. But that's just, me. I'm always the kind of guy to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. I'll put a snake in your boot. Oh boy. I know. I keep thinking of that time Wes was doing the live feed and almost stepped on the snake. I can't even imagine that, right? That's my biggest fear. I had a black snake in my house. It scared the heck out of me. I want to burn the house down. But it doesn't seem to bother him too much. Hey, Al Stewart. How are you? But, yeah. So yeah. So let me know if we can, what you guys like for the shows. Like I said, we could do, I could take requests on pretty much whatever, whatever kind of shows. Also a night. I mean, seems like Tuesday night's a decent night. But if there's another night that works better, then we could do that too. Let's see. I nearly stepped out another one in the pasture 3 days ago. The thing never rattled. Oh, man. Right. They're like the rattlesnakes too, right? I was freaked out by a black snake, and I guess they're pretty harmless. Although, I mean, they're like 5 feet long. But I can't even imagine coming in contact with a rattlesnake. So you got one in the pasture, you got one in your porch, so you pretty much got them everywhere around your house. I mean, to me, that's insane. But it doesn't really seem to bother you too much. All right. Well, I guess that's it. We're going over an hour. I'm going to call it a night. Thank everybody for coming in. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody taking the time to stop by and check us out. And we'll see you all again next time.